Hello and welcome to Breakfast All Day. I'm Matt. Christy's here. Alonso is here. There is a new movie on Netflix, Malcolm and Marie, stars John David Washington and Zendaya, and I think that's pretty much the only cast, right?
Yep.
I haven't seen it because it's in black and white, and I can't be bothered with black and white movies. Come on. Anyway, one of my esteemed colleagues will tell you all about it.
I will. And the black and white cinematography is actually one of the best parts of it. It's one of the few reasons to watch it, I would argue. So John David Washington and Zendaya are indeed Malcolm and Marie. They are coming back from the premiere of his latest movie. He is this up and coming filmmaker who is drawing comparisons to Spike Lee and Barry Jenkins. Zendaya is Marie. She is his girlfriend of the past several years, and he is riding high on the buzz of it being accepted so warmly, and she is not quite so enthusiastic. They go back to this incredible architectural home in Malibu. It's actually a real house in Carmel. But it's supposedly in Malibu. It's got all kinds of glass, and it's just really sparse, and it's incredibly cool looking. And he's just buzzing and he's chatting and she's a little more reticent. And then the entire movie is the two of them working through, long held resentments and bitterness and misunderstandings. And they basically just fight the whole time. And there are many long monologues, long screeds in which the writer-director, Sam Levinson, kind of uses the Malcolm character as his mouthpiece. And a lot of that is problematic in that he is a white filmmaker with two black filmmakers. And a lot of what the Malcolm character is pissed about is the expectation that his work should be inherently political because he's an African-American filmmaker, and how people assign meaning to his work that is not there, or assign their own interpretations of cultural significance that perhaps aren't there. And he feels like he's being, put pegged into a certain hole that he doesn't want to be in. And she, it turns out, is annoyed because he didn't thank her in his introductory remarks, that he, she's the muse for this. So she believes that this story on screen that he's being so acclaimed for is actually her story. But also within this, he complains a lot about film critics in general, but also very specific film critics. One in particular that he has the most vitriol for, who he keeps coming back to over and over again. Even when you think he's done bitching about film critics, he comes back to, quote, the white lady at the LA Times.
And he doesn't call her a lady. It's the white bitch at the LA Times. Yes. He calls her the white bitch at the LA Times constantly.
Right. And so the reason he's angry with her is that she trashed his previous film. And you could say, oh, this is hypothetical. You could say
hang on. It's his first feature, so that's not because he tries his previous film, but for other reasons of her being fatuous or whatever.
No. This is not his first feature.
I thought
this movie that he makes is not his first feature. This is a lady who trashed his previous film in a review.
Okay.
And also who kisses his ass at the premiere and he thinks is vapid. The white lady at the LA Times is never named in this film.
Yeah.
But in reality, and we know that a lot of this film is drawn from reality because the whole thing with not thanking your spouse or significant other is drawn from his own life. He forgot to thank his wife at a previous premiere. That's drawn from real life. The white lady at the LA Times who trashed Sam Levinson's previous movie is Katie Walsh.
Yes.
She's our very... What's that?
No, go. She's our friend. I did not know that when I reviewed the movie, and I think I would have maybe not been as nice if I'd known that there was a specific person he was trashing from stem to stern of this movie. I thought it was a composite,
He denies it. He denies that it's a specific person, right? But Assassination Nation, Sam Levinson's previous film, drew pretty good reviews, but Katie's was quite unkind and was quite critical. As is her absolute right to respond to a film that way. It is her opinion. He has denied that he is singling her out, but given that he comes back to this person over and over again in ways that feel really personal, it's hard not to assume that this is indeed who he is talking about. And it seems like it's so petty and so small. And this is a person of access, of means, who is established. He created Euphoria, which Zendaya stars in, very acclaimed show. He's Barry Levinson's son.
Yeah.
He has all access in the world. He could make any movie he wanted to make within the confines of COVID. And, it's as Matt points out, just a couple of stars in the thing. It's the whole thing. You get incredible stars, beautiful stars, glittering at their peak here, both of these actors. And you have this incredible setting and this cast, or this crew rather, that will quarantine with you to make it all COVID safe. And this is the story that he wants to tell. And it just feels it feels like this screwed up revenge fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm of two minds about this movie because I do love a two people yelling at each other in a confined space movie, when done well. And I think that it's cast really well. The script, I think, kind of peters out and sort of betrays these characters because they start out, I think, having legitimate beefs about things, about, hey, you didn't thank me. And it's not just that I'm petty about you didn't thank me. It's that, like, I gave you my life for this movie. You are playing upon all these things you know about because of me and because of the stuff that I've endured, and you've turned it into fiction, and now suddenly you don't remember my name. Like, that all seems really interesting, and then the way they pick at each other and the way they pick at themselves is really fascinating. But by the end of the movie, they both just come off as so sort of like petty and petulant that it's sort of like, if you had built on what you started with, this would have gone somewhere more interesting. I didn't realize that he was targeting Katie Walsh, clearly, but it makes sense now that you say it. I thought a lot of the monologue about him bitching about film critics was kind of funny, because I think it's funny when creators try and be like, oh, I never read my reviews. Oh, reviews, what do they matter? And clearly it bugs the shit out of them and eats them alive. I'm like, well, fine. I didn't intend for that to be happening, but let's be honest about it. So I thought the fact that it at least owned up to the fact that these guys do read their reviews and it does keep them awake at night was sort of interesting.
He's pissed about he can't find his phone to read the review, and then he has to go pay for the paywall.
Yes.
That's all.
But then it's like, but the whole thing of like, okay, you are so much of the complaints here, so specifically about black filmmakers talking about white critics misunderstanding their films or like putting them in a box or whatever. And it's like, golly, I wish I was hearing this monologue in a movie that was written and directed by a black person.
It's a problem.
And not by a white guy who's just assuming that he gets to say this because he's cast black people to say the words. So that didn't sit real well with me. But yeah, I think the two of them are great. I think Washington and Zendaya are like movie stars. Mm-hmm. They are acting the shit out of this, and they can also, like, the camera can just be like right up on them or far from them, and you are always just magnetized to whatever it is they're doing. And as we eventually sort of looked back on, like, how did people make movies during COVID and what did that look like? They definitely, this is like, all right, I got two people in a house, go. I think he's gotten a lot of value out of that by putting this together. I just wish the script held up more, and fuck you if you're going to go after Katie Walsh, because she's great.
It gets repetitive after a while, right? They keep having the same argument over and over again. And they both have these incredibly long monologues. And Zendaya does a whole lot better with her material than John David Washington does with his, because he is saddled with just these screeds where a lot of it is just like name dropping important filmmakers over the years. And it sounds like some kind of like film school diatribe showing off how much you know. But she accomplishes a whole lot more just wordlessly, just sitting in a bathtub crying than he does. So she's incredible in this, and it's beautiful, and the clothes are beautiful. One thing he does, I don't know if you noticed this, Alonso, because you saw Assassination Nation, right?
I did, yeah.
Okay, so he does a version of that whole long tracking shot from outside the house.
Yes, I didn't think about that, but yes.
That's one of the earliest things is like he's pacing around the living room and she's smoking a cigarette in the open sliding glass door to the backyard and is following them around the house through the windows from the outside. And it's like sort of a version of the same tricky shot he does in Assassination Nation, which was cool the first time. And now I'm like, great. Cool. You did it again. Great.
Which movie was Assassination Nation?
The one about the 4 high school girls and
right.
they get targeted because one of them's accused of having an affair with a teacher or I forget. It's been a while now.
It's been a few years.
I liked it. It was fun.
I did too. Oh, I liked it too. So, and then the music choices feel very on the nose.
The needle drops.
Yeah, sort of, and intentionally so. There's a Dionne Warwick song that she like plays on her phone, and she places the phone right next to him when they're sitting on the patio in the backyard, and it completely speaks to exactly what she is going through.
And it was a song I'd never heard before, so like okay, yes, it's super on the nose, but you're introducing me to a new song, and it's actually saying something about the material, so I'll allow it. You know,
there's so much more that I wish that these actors were given to do. I wish that their roles were meatier. They ultimately feel really superficial once you get past those few intriguing points that they make about each other and their relationship at the beginning.
Yeah, a lot. It starts feeling like an acting exercise by the end of it. But I mean, like the first hour of this movie, I think is pretty solid. And then it just sort of, it kind of gets disappointing from there. But it's, you know, it's on Netflix. So, you know, it's there. You have it in your house. You might as well take a look at it. And I did like the cinematography quite a bit, not just the choice of the black and white, but where the camera gets placed and how he uses it to sort of create claustrophobia, but then also to create distance between them.
Yeah, and it's an incredible location, and he finds like a multitude of inspired ways in and out and through it. So yeah, it's striking to look at. Anyway, I'm saying 4.6.
Oof. I said 7.6, which again, I think if I'd known that the agenda here, I probably would have been less generous, but I think there are things that work. It just doesn't make it all the way to the end.
Yeah, so I'm saying 6.1. Again, to be on the record with this, Sam Levinson denies that he has targeted Katie Walsh. It just seems kind of clear that that's the intention here because he keeps harping on the same person over and over again.
Play a drinking game for every time John David Washington says that white. Actually, both of them say that white bitch from the LA Times. They say it a lot. Yeah. Thanks for watching, you guys. Like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us at BeFastAllDay on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and check out our Patreon at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. So much to talk about with WandaVision, if you've seen it this week. Also Bridgerton, which we're making our way through, and lots of other fun stuff as well that's exclusive for our subscribers. So thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.